Welcome to Within You, a podcast that explores the unknown, the liminal space, as we all in this beautiful world navigate from where we are right now to where we want to go next, whether or not we can see that clearly. We're just taking one step in front of us at a time. Yo soy Viviana Carrasco. I call myself a wisdom teacher and a mindset mentor, and I am your transformational guide. I'm based of Funky Town, which is Fort Worth, Texas, and it is my absolute pleasure. It is a delight to be in your ear, whether you're walking the dog, taking a commute, or just chilling back in front of a fire listening to India and I about to have a bomb conversation. I've invited India Delgado, who is a mortgage loan originator and a remote production producer, and she is becoming a very dear friend of mine. I'm very honored to have met her and excited that I get to share some of her insights with you now on Within You. Hey, India.
Hey, girl. What's going on?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I don't know how I just picked up a New York accent when I'm from Texas, you know?
That's okay. I'm rubbing off on you.
How does that happen?
That's so funny. Wait, I didn't ask you ahead of time. Do I get to bring in sound effects?
Oh, yeah, if you want to. I mean, you're remote production. You do your thing.
Come on now. That's how we gonna roll in this episode.
We call my stream deck the kapow.
Kapow,
like
there
the
you go.
kapow.
Yeah, there you go. See? Come on,
Yeah.
let's get it.
Let's go. I have a couple of things that I wanted to go into conversation with you, have a dialogue. The one thing that I think really lit me up, it was a conversation we had, I don't even remember when, but you were sharing how you have developed an insight on what your unique gifts are, like your talent across your roles, across your jobs, across your career. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I'm trying to get, be more mindful with my spirituality, be more mindful with mindfulness and even getting closer to God. And as I've started to, read and walk down that journey, one of the things that I uncovered that always resonated with me was, you have a calling. And once you've discovered your calling and you start fulfilling your calling, you're going to feel like you're really living your life. So I've always been a leader. I've always been in leadership roles, whether it was when I first started working, as a little team lead or an associate. But I've always fell into that leadership type of role. And the one thing that I loved about those roles were coaching and developing people and helping people out. Then I transitioned into being a mortgage officer, a mortgage loan originator. And it's so funny and that was 3 years ago, the HR person that was interviewing me, because I kept talking about how much I love to coach people, how much I love to lead people. She asked me, because I don't have a team under me, it's just myself now. So she said, do you think that you're going to be happy? I can see how much you truly love that aspect of business. And I had to stop and I thought about that. And I said to her, I don't think so, because I go from coaching. So my employees, when you're a leader or a manager, you have your employees, they report to you. Those are your internal customers, right? And then me not having employees and helping first-time homeowners throughout the mortgage process, that just became my external customers, but those are the people that I coach. And so then I transitioned into the role of doing first-time home buyer seminars. And again, going back into coaching and developing and showing someone that never thought they could achieve the dream of home ownership, breaking down that mortgage process. And I think maybe it was a year and a half into the role, which was a year and a half ago now, where I stopped, right? Like it hit me and I was like, this is my calling. This is it. Where it's just helping people. It's, for me, I think, I've been told that I have a knack for public speaking and just really simplifying whatever it is, whatever the message is, just simplifying it and making people say, oh, that wasn't so hard. And so when it hit me, I said, that was the gift. That was my skill that was given to me, that I can just really get to know a person a little bit and say, okay, this is how I have to break it down. This is how I have to explain it to them to make them feel comfortable and walk them through whatever that journey is. And I guess that's what my skill is, just really, like I said, coaching and helping people and explaining things.
I love that. Now you said it hit you and this is it.
Yeah.
Bring us there, because so many of my listeners, I believe, are looking for that. What is my vocation? What am I meant to do in this world? What's my purpose?
Yeah.
And when that light came on for you, share with us that.
So I was living in my previous place, and it was most likely after a rough week from work because, you know, as mortgages, it's probably the most stressful time of, you know, your life. And as your loan officer, you bring me along with the stress of your journey. Mm-hmm. And so it was probably a rough week of either declines or trying to make deals work. And then I had, usually before COVID, we would do the first time home buyer seminars in person at a nonprofit or at, you know, a library or the branch. Mm-hmm. And when it hit me, it was after I had done a first-time home buyer seminar, and I just felt so rejuvenated. I felt so like it didn't matter that I had such a crappy week with all of the other mundane, you know, nuances of work that just drive you crazy. And I was like, that was my aha moment, that it didn't matter how bad the administrative or the operational piece of it was. Coming and doing the seminar like that gave me life, literally. Going in and standing in front of a group of people and just seeing that your word, your message impacts people. And then, you know, after the seminars where people wait, you know, like, so if a seminar for me is an hour and a half long, I'm not done until maybe 2.5 hours because people wait because they want to ask you one-on-one questions. And that's like, okay, I'm doing something right. This is the purpose, because people need this information, and I've been given this gift. I've been giving this information. So now I have to like find a way to give it at every single corner and every single avenue that I can.
I love that. And earlier you said that you're really living your life. And I know that feeling of the difference between living like the day and becoming like coming alive. Mm-hmm. And what I want to point out to the listeners right now is that this was a feeling you had.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for us to see our own gifts. It's hard for us to see our own talents because we're like a fish in water. We're surrounded by it.
Yeah.
It becomes invisible to us, but you can feel when you're doing it.
Yeah, like I said, for me, it was that feeling of being rejuvenated. It was like I was like on a high, right? The endorphins. It was like, okay. And even tying back to where I even nailed it down even more. And this goes back to like when you and I started talking. It was, I guess, further solidified that it doesn't matter what I'm talking about. For me, it's that I was meant to help people because, you know, as you said, aside from doing mortgages, I'm a remote producer. And that's how, you know, for the listeners, that's how me and Vivi met. Like, I do live streams and things like that. And so I have my YouTube channel and I create videos to help people with the technology piece of it and understanding it. And so, again, just taking a step back and saying, why do I love this so much? Why do I love getting on a live stream? It's just the message, being able to hear someone's pain points, whether it's with mortgages or whether it's with the things that we do with live streaming, technology, etc. Being able to understand that and to break that down in a way where that I fix the pain point or I remove that pain point. When you peel the onion, right, and you say, okay, so what is it that you really love about this? What is it that you really enjoy about this? The short and narrow, it is just helping people, coaching people, training people. And you see, like, I get on my live streams and I love it. It's just, it gives you life. Mm-hmm. There's no other way to really describe it. But like when you just feel like this is great and you don't think about it and time flies, you've found whatever it is you're supposed to be doing.
Amen. I love that. The last 11 months, almost 12 months with the global pandemic and COVID-19 have put a lot of folks in a lot of different positions where they're reflecting or they're in either planned or unexpected transitions. One of the things that I love about your journey, India, is that you have both and. Like, you weren't putting yourself in a position where I have to let go of my job.
Yeah.
You're saying I can add this to my life because I am giving my gift regardless of what I do.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. You know, I guess you adapt, right? And my word for the last year or so has been pivot. You know, and I think we've all been forced to pivot, like you said, with COVID and the pandemic and being forced to work at home. The kids are remote schooling. There have been tons of pivoting. And that's what got me into live streaming in the first place, was a pivot, because as I said, I was doing my first time home buyer seminars in person. Mm-hmm. And that was no longer, we don't even know when we're going to start doing that again. Realistically, the bank, is like, no. But then we still have, as a bank, we still have a corporate responsibility to help potential first-time homeowners, right? Life still happens. And so it was that pivot of, okay, how do I, and for me personally, it was thinking about, how can I still make that same impact? Because when you're in a room with people, you feel that energy, right? You can make eye contact. So, that's a big thing for me as a public speaker and as a coach, where if I'm with you, I can see your visual cues of, nope, they're not following. So let me slow down a little bit, or let me, pull it from them. Let me say, do you want me to explain it a little bit more? Do you have a question, right? You can feel the energy of the room and the vibe. And when I first started doing my first time homebuyer seminars on Zoom and things like that, it was horrible. I was so mortified because I couldn't feel, like nobody had their cameras on. So then I couldn't see people. Like I'm so used to feeding off of someone else or interacting. And so then that's how I got into, the software program that we use, Ecamm, to try to deliver it, because I was like, all right, how can I really evaluate, and the same wow factor that I bring in person, how can I do this digitally? Because that's what's important, that wow factor. You want to catch someone's attention. And, I'm teaching the class, but it's with the people who come in. That's their time. So I have to make it worth their time. And just really that pivot of saying, all right, so I need to learn new software. All right, I need to learn how to make this happen. I need to learn how to make this work for me. And so continuing the transition. And when I saw that I just loved doing it online, it was like, all right, so I'm going to make time to do both, and you don't have to be just, I guess, singled out to just one thing. You can be multifaceted. It's just finding time. And I think at that point it becomes discipline. That's my challenge right now, being disciplined.
You're putting a pin on exactly what I wanted to highlight. And that is, you can have both. I mean, you can make time. If it's important to you, the time will show up.
Yeah.
And you didn't give up your job, your career. You added more to your life so that you could deliver your gift to more people.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny, when we talk about discipline. So, I had to start becoming disciplined because before I was a loan officer, I was a W-2 employee. As a loan officer, I'm a commission-based employee, which is kind of like, I'm self-employed. So it's a totally different ballgame, because as a commissioned, self-employed person, you control your income. You either put in the work and you're going to get your return on your investment, or you can take it easy, but don't expect the return on the investment. My travels with being disciplined started as a loan officer, but I love to sleep. And it's so funny. I was talking to one of our friends, Diana Gladney, because it was about, how do I continue to make time for live streaming or for work? And she said to me, we were in a Clubhouse room about 2 months ago or a month ago. And she said, you know what, India, there comes a time in your life where you have to go through discomfort to do the things that you really want. And she said, so India, if you want to do both of these things, and you know that you need to make more time for recorded content, then you better be ready to make yourself uncomfortable by waking up earlier and sleeping less hours. And it hit me, right? Let me be silly, but it hit me. I was like, oh my God, and sometimes you just have to hear it from a different person, or just, you have to be in a different, I guess, part in your life for it to hit you. And when she said that, I'll tell you, it resonated with me and I don't get up every day extra early, but now more often than not, I wake up at 5:45 in the morning as opposed to 7 o'clock in the morning, because I need to squeeze more things in. And when I want to hit that snooze button, I hear Diana's voice, India, you better force yourself to get, what does she say? That discomfort, force yourself in that discomfort level. And that, it resonated. And every time when I know I really need to get multiple things done, I instantly just say, get up now. And I just get out the bed and I give myself an extra 2 hours in my day to do multiple things.
Anytime we're in if we imagine these circles of comfort, anytime that we're at the edge of a learning, or at the edge of expanding, or at the edge of change, that you're exactly right. That discomfort, whether it's pain or doubt, it's going to be there with you on the ride. There's no way to get rid of it.
Yeah.
It goes along with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not just pain or doubt. It's just changing habits or a culmination of different things. I think that's the biggest thing, where the discomfort, people think about discomfort, I guess, with that immediate pain, doubt, insecurity, right? Like it's always immediate negative connotation. And it's not necessarily that. It's just being uncomfortable and moving into something you didn't know, the unknown. That's going to create your discomfort. Or again, changing your habits up completely. Because for me, it was, so I like to, and don't get me wrong, I wake up at 5:45. When I do wake up at 5:45, I don't go straight to work. That's not what it is. For me to start my day to be in the right state of mind, I have to drink my coffee, and I have to take my time drinking my coffee, and I sit with myself in silence. Everybody else in the house is asleep. So I'll either, read a little bit of the Bible, or I'll go into like a prayer group or something like that, and I drink coffee and I just kind of start my day in a reset kind of. And so it's not that I'm waking up at 5:45 and I'm coming straight to the office. No, I'm just taking that extra hour, or I'm taking the same hour that I was taking at 7 o'clock. I'm taking it and just moving it up, because then now I have a longer day to still do what I want to do for myself as a person, but then squeezing in more hours because I'm waking up extra and going to sleep at the same time.
Yeah. And what you pointed out is exactly right. The undercurrent is change, and we have to allow ourselves to adapt to that change. So that's what you're talking about with the discomfort. Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that for, our listeners, they're like, if you don't have a second avenue to express your gifts, you have the opportunity to build a hobby, to find ways to deliver your gift, in whatever way it is that your gift needs to be delivered. It doesn't have to be a paid job, W-2 job. I mean, the limits that you put around yourself just keep you from the opportunities that may be in front of you.
Right.
Do you agree, India?
Oh, yeah, 1,000%. I always say, it depends. Well, how badly do you want it? How hungry are you? That's, for me, that's what it all is. And then it's about adapting and finding out. And you know what? You may not even have the answers. So I think that also goes into, I'm a firm believer around surrounding yourself with the right camp or with your right tribe, because you may not know how to execute it. You may have this feeling, or you may have this thought, but you don't know where to start. You don't know how you can fit it into your day. And I think that's also a big part of success and trying new things, where it's, okay, let me talk to someone else who's been down this journey or been down a similar journey and see what they can say and see. And it doesn't even have to be the same walk of life. It can be someone that just, they have a different experience, and maybe you can apply their experience to your situation, but don't give up, right? So like meeting people, talking to people. And I think also, like, even with that, going back to what I said about surrounding yourself with your tribe, or, finding the right camp, I think there's levels, right? So there's going to be people that look up to you, and you need to be that person where you can give your light to. But then at the same token, you have to have people that you look up to, because if you're kind of that ceiling, and if you're that wall where people are always looking up to you and you're giving, well, then where's your growth? Where do you come in so that you can move to the next level? And it doesn't matter. You can be a millionaire. You can be a successful entrepreneur with like 1,000 businesses or whatever, but there's always room to grow. There's always room to get better. And my suggestion, and that's what I do personally, is just strive to surround myself with people that I can give to. But then I need to find people that can give to me so that I can continue to grow and flourish and develop.
That's a really good point. And the image that's coming to my mind as you described that is that you grow roots down to give and then rise like a tree.
Yeah.
To reach higher, to grow.
Yeah, that's great.
In every direction. And honestly, that's the second part. That's the second reason why I wanted to just share your journey with my listeners, because you are amazing at building community.
Oh, thank you.
At creating a family around you. And, we met through live streaming, but specifically for me, it was through Vlogmas, right, in December.
Yeah.
And that experience, it pushed me to grow and helped me to and the way that it did me is, I don't know why mentally in my mind, I didn't realize how spiritual my message was. And so I almost hid that from my audience, for my clients, I sort of covered it up in generic language. And this year in December was the first time I literally said, this is an Advent experience. You know, my tradition is, I'm a Catholic by tradition, and this is what we do during this season. And it felt good to let down that layer.
Yeah.
Because I was surrounded by the community of, you know, just like, you're right. People help you grow. I mean, that's the big deal here.
Well, I mean, listen, even if we put you on blast, you know, it's so funny because we do Vlogmas, because now you walked right into that one. Because so I started, right, you know, I started doing Ladies Night of live streaming on Saturday, and I made an announcement to the group where I said, hey, we're going to do some video reviews, but I want to do a different twist where it's going to be women, where it's going to be a women panel, and we're going to come on and we're going to, you know, add our take to it, because for our community, it was always a group of guys, you know, doing the reviews. So I was like, hold up, this is a perfect kind of a theme, Ladies Night. Mm-hmm. And so I put feelers out on the Facebook group, and Vivi said, oh, yep, I would love to be on there with you. Let me know. And then we planned, and I said, okay, I'm kind of booked for the first Saturday. Let's do the second Saturday. Then the second Saturday comes along, and you're like, I'm not ready. I thought about it. I didn't do it. And you backed out. And I was like, wait, what? Like, and I knew you were in your head just from your message. You were in your head. And I'm like, cool.
No, I think what I want to point out about that is that everybody has a learning edge.
Right.
Everybody, any situation. And that was my learning edge right then.
Yeah. And it's, you know, and so I said, I saw your message and I was like, okay, cool. I got her. I'm a keeper in the back of my mind, right? So it goes back to your community and your tribe, and having your supporters, having people that don't forget about you, and you being that person for someone else. And so we kind of took a break, you know, the end of year activities, Christmas, New Year's went crazy. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to get back in my groove of things. And I think maybe my second Saturday of the year, my second or third Saturday of this year, when I was planning the scheduling, that's when I reached out and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. Are you down? And you said yes. And I was like, I got her. All right.
I said yes, and I still wasn't ready. And I shared with you, I was proud of myself for leaping, but
yeah,
when I joined you, I got shy.
Yeah, I know.
What the heck is up with this, right? I know how to do this.
Right.
But I got shy because you guys were my family. Like, I knew you, and I wanted to, like, not step over myself in front of y'all. And I did. I was just like, hello, I'm Vivi.
Right. And right, exactly. And I'm like, hello, you're a doctor. You have a podcast. You have a book. You have websites. Like, what? Stop it. Let's rewind and let's start again. Like, don't be so humble. Lean in, girl. Lean in.
Amen. That was the big message then. But I reflected a lot after that experience. It was because the relationships mattered to me. And what this brings up for me is when someone, because I went through this experience way early on, lots and lots of years ago, you might have people close to you that you don't want to disappoint, that you don't want to judge you. And it might keep you from, you know, pivoting.
Yeah.
From leaning in. And you've just got to keep going there. When someone that you love and someone that cares about you knows that something's important to you,
right,
they will come around and support you.
Yeah.
If they're reacting in a way that's discouraging or disappointing to you, they might just be listening to the doubt that is clearer to you than your conviction.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because that happened with my husband. When I had said, I want to do this, he said, you know, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And I stepped back a week or 2 weeks and I said, no, I have to do this.
Yeah.
This isn't something I have a choice about. And when I came back and said, this is what I want to do, he said, and without a conversation in between, what do I need to do to help you?
Awesome.
So I feel like if, you know, loved ones or people that are close to us are just kind of pulling us back, it may be that they're tuning into our doubt, to that discomfort that we're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting point. Yeah. Never thought about it that way. I mean, you know, with my previous relationship, like, she knew that I was going to, you know, start this live streaming thing. And she was supportive. But then when, you know, it was like, if I needed privacy, right, like to do the live streaming because we didn't have a dedicated office, that's where I feel like there were just some disconnects. But that could have been me, like, honestly, just in my head of saying, oh, I can't do this because the room is not quiet enough, and just deflecting. And you said, I agree that people feel that. It's that self-doubt or the insecurities. And if that's how you may possibly how do you say, like, maybe if that's like, if it's coming across in your message, then that's how people may receive it. And then that's what it becomes.
Right. It's not anything you have to say. It's just like, you know how you said that you get that vibe or that power from the people in the room, and you can react to everything that you're seeing.
Right.
On all levels.
Right. It's like wavelengths. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree.
Exactly. I mean, that happens. We're humans. We have this, like you said earlier, resonates. Like our hearts can feel that.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what's up.
One of the things that, you know, you talked about helping people, but also having people help you. What would you say to the listeners? Because you're so good at it. I think you do it naturally. You probably do it without even thinking about it. But how do you find your own mentor? Like, how do you find those people that can help you stretch and grow and raise you up?
Thank you for the kind words. I think, so what I've learned, because with being in the banking industry, like they've had, like with my previous company that I worked for, we had a formal mentor-mentee relationship, and they had a guide or whatever. But even sitting down with my mentor, the one thing that I learned was, so a lot of people look at mentor and mentee relationships like the mentor has to go and stay on top of you, and the mentor has to look out for you, and the mentor is going to, you know, follow up with you. And that's actually wrong. The way a mentor and mentee relationship works is that you as the mentee should be looking out and reaching out. So even with that, it starts with you looking for who would you like, you know, what do you want to do? So is it someone that you want to live stream with, and someone that, you know, you see that they do it well? Reach out to that person and ask them, you know, and word it in a way you don't have to say, hey, can you be my mentor? You know, like, but say, hey, I admire X, Y, and Z, whatever that may be, and I'm aspiring to do something similar. Do you think that maybe we can just connect? Do you think maybe I can pick your brains from time to time? That's it. That's the easiest way. Mm-hmm. So figuring out, you know, what it is you're looking to do, and either, you know, analyzing and evaluating your, whoever it is, you know, whether it's friends, whether it's work coworkers, you know, Facebook friends, LinkedIn, utilize all of the resources. But it's your responsibility as the person who's looking to be mentored to reach out. And a lot of it then at that point for the mentor, you know, because like you've said, Vivi, right, it's all about, we're humans. And so as humans, we love to be given accolades. We love to be like looked up to. Like, it's like, you know, it's like, oh man, okay. So, you know, if you tell someone, hey, I really admire your work, that's going to open up the door. Usually, you know, if they're a nice person, mm-hmm. you know, that's going to open up the door where they're going to say, and if they can fit time into it, I think that's the other big thing, because it just may be that they may want to help you, but it may be a time thing. But if you ask, chances are more than likely they'll say, yeah, you know, back pre-COVID, they'd say, yeah, we can have a coffee together. Definitely we can, you know, chop it up in politic. Now it's either a phone call or a Zoom session, FaceTime session or something like that, right? So that's the first step with really analyzing, looking at your resources, reaching out and just saying, hey, can I pick your brains? And then if that person agrees to give you their time, that's the most important thing. They're agreeing to give you their time. You better be ready. Mm-hmm. So if there are certain things that you want to learn from this person, you should have your list of questions ready to go, or list of topics that, and it breaks down to questions, right? Of how do you do this? How did you get into that? Can you show me this? You know, the areas that you want to quote unquote pick their brains from, that's one. So you should be ready with whatever date, you know, that you guys scheduled to talk. And then the second half of it is then going back and following up with them. So whether it's at the end of the first meeting conversation and, you know, just putting it out there and saying, man, this was really great. I'd love to kind of continue this. What does your schedule look like? And if you feel awkward doing it at that point, sending them a text, a follow-up text, you know, thanking them again for their time and saying, you know, let me know, is this something that we can meet up once a month, once every other month? Because I'm inspired by you. But it's your responsibility to stay on top of it, to set those appointments or to set those meeting times, and to really pull, I don't want to say pull, but be prepared to, what's the word? It's kind of like your dig, right? You're digging. So you're looking for it. And when you dig, you're going to find it. You'll eventually hit that treasure. So it's like, you know, you're going to dig into your mentor of what it is you're looking for. and then eventually it'll come up. But that's your role as the mentee. You're putting in all the work. And a lot of people don't look at it that way. A lot of people think, oh, a mentor is supposed to show me, and a mentor. No, they're not doing no work. They're at that level that you want to be at. You're doing the work to get to that level and finding out from them and learning from them.
That's a really good point, India. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And you're prepared with the questions, you honor the time, and then you treat it as a relationship. So you definitely look back and say thank you, and you implement whatever, advice or guidance or tips that they gave you.
And you celebrate such success stories, right? Because it's also not about, just taking. It's also because then that's the one thing, of course, the mentor, because it goes back to time. And so if someone is giving you their time and you implement whatever it is, or you put into practice whatever it is that you've gotten out of whatever sessions, circle back with them and say, hey, here's my success story. Hey, I wanted to celebrate with you. Hey, just wanted to say thank you because, got this nugget from you and I put it into practice and this is what I got from it. Thank you so much. Because again, it's you putting in the work. And now if you want this mentor to continue to share their knowledge and share their gems with you, now it's like, okay, cool. Let's meet again. Let me continue to help, because they see that there's value and there's a reason, there's a purpose. It's not that you just do it and you kind of forget about it. So that's really important, sharing the success stories as well.
I love that. And I want to loop back to the idea of time, because you said it in so many words, but time is our most precious resource. We can make more money, but we cannot make more time.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
And time that you're sharing with somebody else is an investment.
Absolutely.
So I just,
yeah,
there. So I didn't know this about you.
What's that?
But I am excited to hear that you have a morning hour.
Yeah.
That you have a ritual, a routine in the morning. And I would say that this is like, tell me where I'm wrong. Like, does this hour of you doing nothing, of stillness, of coffee, of just like coming into your day, I have a sense that it sort of gives you that power to go through your day to get everything else you want done. So you're like gathering energy for what you want.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I mean, and there are times like, and it's not perfect, right? I don't want to make myself seem like, oh my God, I'm reading the Bible or I'm, meditating. No, there are times that I'm literally checking up on text messages, checking up on business messages. I'll scroll through Facebook, but it's me time. So it's a mix of all of those things. And literally for me, it is about an hour long. Like that's the time that I need to, I call it a reset. It's funny because it's not resetting because you're starting your day. But for me, it's a mental reset of just, I guess maybe like blanking everything out from whatever happened the day before. I'm now waking up and it's like, okay. And then just going from there. So giving myself the time, enjoying my coffee and how great it tastes. I take my dog out for a walk, right? So it's all of those things, and definitely all of those things that give me life, because yeah, coffee gives me life in the morning. Taking my dog out and spending time with him and making sure he's okay and giving him the little, the little hugs and kisses, that gives me life. And it's that just, it's stillness, but it's not. Because like I said, I'm, on Facebook, I'm on Instagram and things like that. But it is the quiet time that it's just India. So whatever India chooses to do, it's just India. And then I don't feel as scatterbrained.
Right.
As opposed to I wake up right on time. I put the coffee pot to do. I get in the shower. I make the coffee and I come straight downstairs to the desk. There's no reset. There's no like, it's like, okay, I went from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. That scatterbrained. And then no, you're just going into your day like that. Where if I just, whatever my reset looks like, I'm just taking the time and I'm just taking it in and I plan and I'm like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And that's it.
I love that I love that you're sharing that, because too many people have this idea of what, in quotes, meditation is and what it's supposed to look like. And I love that you said, look, I'm moving.
Right.
I'm walking the dog. I'm doing these things and I'm doing nothing.
Right.
But it is your me time.
Yep.
I love that. Yeah. You don't have to sit on a cushion in like...
Oh, no. close your eyes and get in the Indian pose. No, for me, my meditation is just stopping. And like I said, I definitely have to catch up on, it's not just a social media thing, but just getting caught up on any potential messages or emails that I need to then at least plan when I get to the desk, and then just sitting and relaxing and letting it be what I need it to be.
Yay. And I want to draw attention to letting it be anything you need it to be for the listeners. When COVID first kicked off, I was gardening, and I had never put my hands into the earth like that. And it was that me time. It was a resetting. It was, like you said earlier, I love the words that you're using. Like, it really made you come alive. Like, it was you really living. Like, you can tell the difference between a day without it and a day when you have it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Now, I want to ask you, if somebody's feeling stuck, right? They're moving through this transition and they might not know how or what their gift is. Like, do you have any insights, any exercises, something that maybe you would have done or that you've come across that you can share with the listeners to try to pull up what that unique talent is for them?
That's, I don't know. That's definitely a difficult question, and I feel like, what is it? The answer that I would come up with sounds like the cheesiest answer or like the most generic answer of figuring out what makes you happy.
No, that is on point. That's what I teach.
That's it. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds so generic. Oh, it's do what makes you happy. But it is figure out
what makes you happy.
What makes you happy. And then taking that to whatever level you need to take it to. And I've found even with that, it's never going to uncover itself or show itself instantaneously. So you have to start. I think that's the biggest problem, that people start, and because it's not what that looks like to them or what they thought initially what it looks like, they give up and they say, no, this is not it.
They don't invest the time.
No.
Yeah. Going back to time and allowing it to be a discovery. That's a word that I love.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's not going to just show up. You're not just going to like, boom, see it.
Right.
You're going to discover it. The other thing about the word happy, kind of like the word meditate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it something that makes you happy for a little bit, or is it something that really makes you happy, like brings you alive? Like, I want to tear apart that word happy because our culture has sort of seeped into us.
Yeah.
And sometimes what we think is going to make us happy isn't really what makes us as a person. Like yo, Vivi, you, India.
Right.
Like, we might not get happy from the same things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, or it's also in waves. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even just like what you said about, long term, short term. No, I personally think it's about in waves, your happiness. And I'm still learning that, I'm still going through that and understanding, I guess, self-reflection and saying, okay, because there's going to be your pain points. There's going to be your trials, your tribulations. And of course, while you go through your pain points, you can still be doing things that make you happy. But within that, or depending on, how you execute it or whatever, you're going to uncover pain points, and then you're not going to have happy moments. But that's just a wave, right? That's just, people say peaks and valleys, where, you have your peaks, you go up, and then that's your high. That's the endorphin. That's like, oh my God, this is great. I'll give you a perfect example. My first time homebuyer seminars. So usually, home buying, the season starts in April, right? In the spring.
Mm-hmm.
And then like June is home ownership month. So the banks and, for people who are in the mortgage field, that's huge. This April, May, and June is huge. To put it in perspective, normally I do usually one first-time home buyer seminar a month. In May, I average about 8 seminars a month.
Wow.
And it is wow, because I end up losing my voice because I speak for nonstop 2 hours, like nonstop. So at the end of the month, I'll have lost my voice. Usually because I'm running nonstop, I'll get sick because, your body just gives up on you. And then let's think about it. Is the summertime? Well, for me, because you're in Texas, but for me, I'm on the East Coast. So April, spring is when it starts to get nice. I want to be outside chilling. Like, I want to enjoy the sun. I want to enjoy the nice cool breeze. I want to just be outside, and I can't. I am inside in this dreary whatever library teaching people, right? So I say that and I try to give that visual representation because it's peaks and valleys where it's like, yeah, I love teaching first time home buyers. I love doing the seminars, but I don't love doing 8 of them in May where I give up every single one of my Saturdays and I'm working from 8 to 5 doing the banker stuff. And then we do a seminar from 7 to 10 because that's when people get out from work and when they can be available. So that part of the happiness, usually I get very cranky in the springtime.
But you know your rhythm, right? You know your cycle. You know the industry.
Exactly. Right.
And what you're saying, I think, to everybody is they come together. Like so often we think that there's this, you said earlier, I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect and life is not perfect. We cannot expect that. So our happiness might come along with that dreary, hard, parts, and we're okay with it, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking right now, like raising my children. There were a lot of diapers and, there's a lot of messes I cleaned up.
Right. No, I can imagine.
It comes with some hard shit.
Yeah, I bet.
The other thing that I heard you say in so many words with your waves and peaks and valleys is that there's a level of happiness, but even when you're doing something that's not fun or doesn't make you feel good or you're making a sacrifice, like there's that undercurrent of joy in it because its purpose.
Right. And and then the other thing you have to think about is that whatever that current feeling is, that's temporary.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people get stuck on and I'm good for that, actually. I'm not even going to lie. I am good for just letting that immediate emotion or that immediate whatever it is become on the forefront instead of just taking a step back and saying, okay, this is temporary. This was a downfall. This was a hiccup or whatever it was. But once you figure it out, everything's going to be back to normal. You're going to be all right. You were all right yesterday. You'll be all right tomorrow. Let this feeling be temporary and it'll go away.
And take advantage of your me time or your reset time.
Yeah.
Or whatever time you as the listener have incorporated to give yourself the opportunity to start over, to reset.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and sometimes you may have to do it either in long waves, meaning 1 or 2 days at a time, or a vacation, a week at a time where you do nothing. And sometimes you may have to do it in a 15-minute interval. I've had a rough week with work, and I think on Monday, it was nonstop, one thing after the other. And I remember it was like maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I have a big desk clock on my desk, and I looked at it and I said, nope, I am stopping for 10 minutes, and I'm not going to do anything, and I'm just going to sit and be with myself and reset. Because if I would have kept on, I probably would have snapped at someone by 5 o'clock came, where I just needed to just shake off what was happening, take a few breaths, reset, and not do anything just for those 15 minutes so that high level of tension went down. I'm not going to say it goes away completely, but at least I wasn't as taut a rubber band, right? I wasn't like so stretched far back. I was able to loosen some of that tension to continue on with the rest of my day to make it until 5 or 6 o'clock.
And I think that really speaks to your personal self-awareness, because I know for so many years of my life, that was not something that I was able to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my friends, two of my really good friends say, when I'm talking about things, they always say, the one thing I know you're good at is you're good at being self-aware. And I don't know why. I don't know. I'll tell you, what I do think some of it is, I'll be honest, is that, my parents, they got together. They were very young. Our culture as Latinos is you're going to make it work no matter what, or whatever the case may be, not really going to see therapists. You just argue and all of that mishmash of things. And so I say that because me growing up with my parents, because my parents had me when they were very young, they were 16 and 18. So now that I'm 38, I think about it. When my mom was 36, I was 16, right? Or whatever the math is. I can't imagine being a 38-year-old and having a young adult. Mm-hmm. And I think my mom, I'm still learning and growing. Anyway, so I say that because the way they handled situations, I remember looking back and saying, okay, I'm not going to do that. Or now as an adult, where I think about how they handled situations and how it just didn't work. It was like, if my dad thought that yelling at me at the top of his lungs all the time was going to get through to me, that didn't work, right? I think that's where a lot of my self-awareness does come in, where I've always been very analytical. So just analyzing and saying, okay, well, how does this apply to me? Or how can I make it apply to me? How can I just learn from it and grow and move forward? And for me, it's also, and I tell my mom this to this day, it's like, listen, it's not worth the aggravation. So if you can find a way to make it work for you, it is not worth the aggravation in the long run. So you got to find a way to reset.
I love that. And when you're saying analytical in the way that you're describing it, what is translating in my mind is that you are like a scientist to looking at like experimenting what works and what doesn't work.
Yep.
You are feeding that with love. You're like, what's going to help me?
Yeah.
And that is big because I think so many of us don't know how to be friends to ourselves.
Yeah. And again, even that goes in waves. I think even that, where it's like you have your self-love and, you're feeling yourself. You're like, I'm the ish. Like, I got this. I got it going on. Right. That comes in waves. And then especially for us as women, not to say that men don't go through that, but I think us as women, we beat up on ourselves more. And, you have to be okay with those waves. And that's where I'm at now. That I'm going through a breakup. And I realized that within the last couple of months, I stopped. And there was different reasons, like all of us, like with COVID and things like that. But I stopped a lot of my self-love and self-care of things that I loved. And then that affected me and my happiness. So, and some of it were out of our control. So I loved going to the gym. I started getting very fit at the very beginning of 2020. I was on a path of where I wanted to be, and then they shut down all the gyms and I was miserable. However, but then that goes back to excuses. I chose not to work out at home. So then if my stress became insurmountable, and if that was a way that I alleviated stress by going to the gym, then it's kind of my fault for not finding it in, my own way to make it work for me. Right. So you got to take accountability as well. And so now here we are a year later and I'm like, yeah, I need to find ways that make it work for me and I need to suck it up, because if I knew that going to the gym in the morning, 3 days out of the week and just burning stress by sweating, that made me feel amazing. And I stopped doing that. And now I can't everything, like I'm ready to snap at the drop of a dime. Well, then I need to find a way to work out in the house or find a way to get that in, because at the end of the day, the person who suffers is you. The person who suffers is me, because if I'm always mad and if I'm always frustrated because I don't know how to alleviate my stress, or I'm not putting in the work for that self-love and that self-care, don't nobody else care. They could be happy. They could be had a great day. They don't care that you're in your feelings and you're frustrated and all of that. If anything, they're going to say, don't come over here with that mess. You're not going to mess up my aura. Right. And so then you're there all in your corner by your lonesome, frustrated and angry. But for why?
But for why?
Right.
Why?
Because that's how I am. And, like even with my mom and my brother, because I'm, staying with them, and that's how I am. I'm like, y'all are not going to come to me with some drama. Bye. I'll leave y'all alone. Like, I'm done. I'm out. Peace.
When you said choice and exactly what you're talking about, that is something that I just want to point out too. I want to pull it up and kind of pin it. Throughout our whole conversation, you've made like, this is my choice. I'm choosing this. I'm accountable. You have to be responsible. You have to lead that.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe in that. And I also believe, like you said earlier, you didn't say it in these many words, but I've had the same experience. When I was able to love myself more, respect myself more, then I was able to give that to those I love even more. It had to grow from the inside to be able to stretch farther.
Yeah. And it's always a work in progress. It's always, I'm at a place where I need to reset, because I'm at a place where it was like, okay, when did I stop self-respecting myself, or when did I stop tolerating more than what I know I should have tolerated? When did I stop, why? Because again, for me, that goes back to, I then added undue stress onto myself, because it even goes back to, you show people how to treat you. So if you accept certain things, or if you tolerate certain things, or again, if you show certain behaviors that's acceptable for yourself and someone else is watching, then they're going to treat you that way. They're going to say, well, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like if we're talking about being healthy, if you don't set the standard for yourself where you make healthier decisions, it's going to be easy for your family or your partner, whoever it is, to help you make those poor decisions, because you're not standing up for yourself. So it starts with you first and then just resetting again, because it all goes in waves, right?
Yeah.
So, just resetting, and it's okay to fall off from whatever it is that you're doing. But when you realize it, because I think a lot of times we realize it and then it's always, I'll get to it tomorrow. Oh, I didn't have time to do it today. I didn't have time to take 5 minutes for myself today. I didn't have time, especially like as moms. And I'm not a mom, but I have friends. My really good friends are all moms. And I yell at them, and not because I don't know what it is to not be a mom, but it's exactly what you said, Vivi. You have to take care of yourself first, because once you fill your cup with whatever it is, your love, you can pour out you need to be overflowing for yourself first so that you can be overflowing for your kids or your partner or whatever it is. So I make sure, so like a real life example, my best friend, her and her partner are separated. So this week the kids went with the other mom, and she's miserable because she misses her kitties. But then she was just telling me last week that she was overwhelmed. And I said, no, you need to think about, take this time. I know I'm not saying not to not miss your kids, but reset, because you just said to me that you were overwhelmed last week. So you need to be in a clear mind so that when they come back, you can receive them fresh and rejuvenated and enjoy the kitties. Mm-hmm. So, force yourself to take whatever time you're going to take with this week, because once they're back for this week, you're not going to have that alone time at all again. Right. And I think as women, we beat ourselves up with that guilt of, like, for her, oh, well, no, I'm a mom. I shouldn't be happy that my kids are gone or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Because it's like guilty of what are people going to think? And it's like, no, think a bit from the other perspective of how can you love yourself and put yourself in a situation that this is going to benefit you so that it benefits everyone else around you.
Yes, yes, and more yes. India, I want to thank you for joining me in the middle of your journey.
Yeah.
And because it is difficult for folks who are going through a pivot, who are trying to see what's next.
Yeah.
And your story, your journey, your story, the way that you're living your life really speaks to something that I want people to see that they're examples of. You can have both. You can do and. You don't have to give up this job to get that one. You can learn, let yourself, the way you said, discover your skills. Give yourself the time that is needed to uncover what your unique gifts are. And you can find those by feeling them. You'll know what they are when you connect them to when you feel alive.
Yeah. No, definitely. Thank you for having me.
And I also want to point out how you said, be a mentor and get a mentor. Your community goes 360.
Right.
You're making choices. You cannot say you don't have time. You are making an investment in time, and you can make time when you need to.
Right.
And for me, because of the work that I do, I really love that you brought up your magic hour, your morning hour, your me time, because we all need to honor that area where we are resetting, where we're giving ourselves what we really need, whether that's stillness or walking the dog or, working in the garden or anything else.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there anything else that you would love to say to our listeners, because they're listening to both of us in conversation, who may be in the same place that you were? What do I do? How do I figure this out?
It will get hard, but don't give up, and then just reach out, talk about it. I think a lot of things, again, it's that stigma of I don't want to bring this up because I may sound like I'm lost, or, I don't know what I'm talking about, or I may sound crazy, right? Someone who doesn't believe in your dreams because maybe to someone else it's outlandish. And even with that, you guys have to stop and think about, if you're telling someone something, or if you have something within you that you feel is burning and someone shuts you down, that's not necessarily that your idea is outlandish. That may be a them thing. That's not a you thing. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you have to stop and be able to, differentiate and say, just because they may feel like they can't do it, that doesn't mean I can't do it, or I can't, whatever that is. So it's just really believing yourself and taking the steps and finding your camp. I think that that's important. Your community, your tribe, finding that. And it doesn't have to be big. It can be small, 1 or 2 people. But you have to lean on people, because you're never going to have the answers on your own.
We can't do it on our own. We cannot do it on our own.
You can't, it's impossible. It's impossible with anything. Again, I'm not a parent, but I still have my tribe that I go to because I can't do it on my own, anything that I'm trying to do. So you have to have your community to just bounce ideas off of or just to talk to.
Yeah. If someone's interested in connecting with you, India, as either a mortgage loan originator or just to talk to you about remote production and your role as a producer, how would they find you?
The easiest way, I guess, is, let me see. So I always get yelled at for my long handle. And that's why I'm like hesitant because I didn't fix my other one. So it's my first name, India, at iDelgado Productions with an S at the end, iDelgadoProductions.com.
Thank you. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, in the show notes, I'm going to have some links where you can find India directly and you can show her some love or share in her love and connect with her with either mortgage loan origination or for help with your own remote production.
Or anything, even if you just want to pick my brains with anything we spoke about today, about that me time, about the downtime, about finding your camp, mentoring, anything today.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. And that, honestly, shows your heart.
Yeah.
That shows your heart because that is how you and I became friends and colleagues.
Yeah.
Because you did the same thing for me. Oh, gracias.
Yeah, that's what it's about. You got to give back. De nada. Of course. Anytime. Hold on. I have something for that. Hold on. Hopefully everybody else is laughing the way we're laughing.
Oh, I bet they are. I bet they are. Yo soy Viviana Carrasco. It has been my absolute pleasure that you have honored us with your most precious resource, which is your time.
Thank you.
During this podcast, I really hope that it added value. And like India said, please connect with her if she can help you with anything that she's talked about. And if you want to find me, and I don't know how you bumped into this, but you probably know how to find me, but I'm going to say it anyway. www.viviancarrasco.com. Feel free to send me an email, shoot me something, or just say yes to one of the buttons on the website. Until next time, peace be with you.
Bye, guys.